Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Wednesday, the 18th of September 2019. And earlier today, we produced a video entitled, quote, "Will the Fed cut rates today? And what will happen to gold and silver prices?" And we asked our subscribers and viewers to give an estimate as to whether they thought the Fed would cut rates. If so, by how much? And what would the gold and silver price stand at the close of business today? Now, we pointed out in that video that there were a number of pressures on the Fed to cut rates, though our opinion was that it shouldn't, but we have stressed over recent weeks that it probably will, and mainly for the following reasons. 1. Many of the world's central banks have either already cut their main interest rates or have promised a program of QE soon, or in some cases both. 2. The recently announced non-farm payroll figures, although showing further job growth, the rate was disappointing. 3. Many countries, including China, the European Union, and the United Kingdom, have announced lowering growth or GDP figures, with further disappointment expected ahead. 4. The US bond market recently experienced an inverted yield curve situation, which normally predicts recessions ahead, usually within 18 to 24 months on average, and this has concerned many policymakers and investors. 5. President Trump has exerted considerable pressure on the Fed to reduce rates, both by Twitter storm and behind the scenes. 6. Equity markets have already baked in a price decrease, and so to disappoint them would lead to a major stock market fall. And 7. Potential black swans lurking, causing geopolitical tensions, including recent events involving Iran and North Korea, and not forgetting, of course, the China trade dispute, all of which necessitates a degree of insurance protection, thus the requirement to lower rates. Well, before this afternoon, the Fed funds rate stood at 2 to 2.25%, and the FOMC have just announced that the rate is being cut by 25 basis points to a rate of 1.75% to 2%, citing business investment has, quote, weakened since the Fed's last policy setting meeting in July, when it cut rates for the first time since 2008. It added that whilst consumer spending is positive, US exports have weakened, and the international trade uncertainty, aka tariff war, has caused businesses to reluctantly reduce capital investment. The Fed was slightly split today, in that the St. Louis Fed President James Bullard voted for a 50 basis point cut. But Kansas City Fed President Esther George and Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren voted for no change to the benchmark interest rate today. It's also reported that 7 members of the FOMC's 17 participants see at least one additional cut in 2019 by some 25 basis points. And if this happens, it will either be at its October the 30th meeting or its December the 11th meeting. The Fed also issued new economic projections and actually lowered expectations for where rates are headed. The Fed appears confident that 2019 will see GDP growth of around 2.2%, slightly higher than June's estimate of 2.1%. And during the press conference after the announcement, Jerome Powell also indicated that 2020 should see similar growth to 2019 of at least 2%. What was interesting to us, especially during the press conference, was Powell's repeated assertion that the Fed's objective is to achieve and sustain maximum employment and ensure stable prices. He emphasized that the Fed were concerned about geopolitical issues, slowing global growth, trade policy uncertainty, and the aftermath of Brexit. He also expressed concern that manufacturing was weaker and was watching closely the high level of business sector debt relative to GDP. On the positive front, he cited that the US economy was fundamentally strong, with positive jobs growth and growing consumer spending, and inflation, though currently lower than the planned 2% target, would potentially exceed this in 2020 to 2021. He also stated that he was not concerned about the household sector, as it currently has less debt, it's therefore less leveraged, and is experiencing rising incomes. The Fed also, in addition to the main interest rate cut, reduced the interest it pays on bank reserves. These are the funds that banks place with the Fed on overnight deposit. It's reduced them by 30 basis points as opposed to 25 basis points, theoretically to encourage banks to lend more to customers. The overall impression was that the US economy is in relatively good health, and although rates may come down by 25 basis points, if not in 2019, then perhaps in early 2020, the outlook was so positive that the Fed is not even considering negative interest rates. But, if circumstances required it, would adopt some QE-type program instead. This is providing, of course, interest rates have moved down closer towards zero, such as large-scale asset purchases and forward guidance measures. But they felt that this was most unlikely to happen. Now, US markets were initially somewhat disappointed by the 0.25% cut, as just prior to the decision, the Dow stood at 27,049, down 61 on the day, and immediately after the announcement fell to 26,958, down 152 points, and at one stage we noticed fell by some 187 points. Though it appears to have recovered since then. Gold and silver were also unimpressed initially, as gold fell from $1,508 immediately to $1,497, and silver from $1,791 to $1,769. Now, that said, at the time of writing, and all of the markets have not closed yet, the Dow is actually up some 36 points, and gold stands at $1,493 and silver at $17.72. Tomorrow we shall provide a more detailed view of where we see these heading once the markets have had time to digest the news, as we wanted this video produced before the Brits head off to bed. We shall also state who was the closest in their predictions from amongst our subscribers in our previous video. Now, we could not end this one, however, without quoting President Trump's reaction, which suggests he is far from happy. He tweeted the following, quote, "Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve fail again. No guts, no sense, no vision, a terrible communicator." What more can we say? Until tomorrow. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer. Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners. Glory, glory, hallelujah.